Hello friends, welcome to Daily Sourdough. Today we are going to make one of the recipes that you've been requesting. We're going to make blueberry scones with a lemon glaze. Really delicious, and it has an extra tender crumb because you're adding your sourdough starter to it. So let's get started by taking 2 cups of all-purpose flour, place that in a larger bowl, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that's all mixed together here. I'm going to just add that. Stir that together, then take a cube of butter. I know in some countries it's called a stick. So 1 stick of butter or 8 tablespoons, and this is cold butter because you're going to crumble it up in your flour mixture. And it's easier to start with smaller chunks. So take your cube of butter and then cut it into small cubes to give it a head start. I just do it like this and add all of it to your flour mixture. Then using either 2 forks or a pastry cutter like this, blend your butter into your flour, and this takes a little time and a little muscle, and just work that butter into your flour mixture until your flour mixture resembles little crumbs or your butter is broken up into about pea-sized pieces. Some of you might wonder, why not just use softened butter instead, because this is kind of a lot of work. But the little pieces of cold butter in your dough makes your scone flakier, just like in a biscuit or a croissant. And so that's why you use cold butter, and just very patiently work it into your flour. Next, add 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries, and these have been washed and then dried really thoroughly because your scone batter is a dry batter, and you don't want any added moisture, especially water, in it. So make sure your blueberries are very dry, and add to that 1.5 tablespoons roughly of lemon zest, and that's about the zest from 1 whole lemon. And lemon zest really brightens up the flavor of the blueberries. Oh, it just enhances that flavor so well. Makes it so fresh and spring-like. Now just gently toss all that together so that the blueberries are covered with the flour. Now in a separate smaller bowl, take your sourdough starter, and you can use fed starter or unfed starter. I'm going to use fed starter because it has a fresher flavor to it. You know, it's not so acidic. If you use unfed starter, then you might have a little more sour taste in your scone, but either one works really well. And you just need 1/2 cup because we only have 2 cups of flour, and this is going to be plenty to ferment our flour, and we don't want too much moisture in our dough. Then to that, add 1 large egg and 2 tablespoons of cream. You can use milk if you don't have cream. That's fine. Now mix that up really well. Now add your liquid mixture to your flour mixture and just kind of gently stir it all together. Okay, since my dough is still quite crumbly and a little too dry, I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon of cream, just to make sure all that flour gets incorporated into the dough. I'm also going to just give it a little squeeze and make sure all that flour is thoroughly incorporated and the dough is coming together, and it is. And now at this point, we're going to place it in the refrigerator and ferment it for 8 to 10 hours or overnight. So just cover your bowl and place it in the refrigerator, and we'll see you tomorrow. Now that your dough has fermented, remove it from your bowl and place it on a clean countertop. And it's still kind of shaggy, so it's going to take a little bit of work pulling it together into a mound of dough. Take your hands and squeeze it together so that it all comes together just in a mound on your countertop. And I never understand why other recipes don't have you ferment your scone dough. I've never seen anybody else who ferments it over time. All the other recipes that I've looked at bake their scones right after they mix it up. And I don't understand why, because why would you not want to ferment all of your flour and get that added benefit of your fermented grains? Once you have a mound, just push the dough out into a circle. And some of the blueberries might burst, that's okay. Some of mine are. That will just add to the color of your scone a little bit. And then once you have it flattened out, it's still going to be roughly an inch thick. And what is that, about 10 inches round. Then take your bench scraper or a large knife and cut your scone dough into 8 wedges. Then gently pick each wedge up and place it on a parchment covered baking sheet. And you'll want to separate them. You don't want to bake it as a whole because it just doesn't bake thoroughly if you do. So place them all separated on your baking sheet. And have your oven preheating to 400 degrees. And when it is hot, place them in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And while your scones are baking, make your lemon glaze by mixing 3/4 cup powdered sugar and a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of fresh lemon juice. Well, here you have it, friends. Delicious sourdough blueberry scones with a lemon drizzle, and they're fermented so your grains are full of those good probiotics and easy on your gut. So tender and delicious, really beautiful scones. And friends, be sure to stay tuned because I have more recipes coming up on Daily Sourdough. Very good.